For joining me today. This webinar is called Excipient World Conference and Expo, Top Reasons to Attend. We're beginning right now at just after 11 o'clock on July 14th. And my name is Courtney Nazarino, and I am an IPEC America staff member and also the Excipient World event director. Before we get started, we're going to run through a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, if you've attended Excipient World Academy webinar, you should be familiar with our virtual code of conduct by now, but I'm going to review it just in case. We want to help to establish and maintain a positive and supportive online learning environment, and also treat all other participants and their opinions with respect, cultural sensitivity, and politeness. I mention that because we really do encourage active participation in our webinars, especially this one. Our main avenue for active participation today will be the Q&A. I have the quote here: "The only silly question is the one you don't ask." The whole purpose of this webinar, besides me giving out information about Excipient World, is to give you an opportunity to ask questions, anything you need to know about the event to help you make your decision about coming is fair game. So please feel free to open the Q&A. We've enabled the feature that you can upvote questions that are in there. So if you have a question that somebody else has already written in, you can upvote, which helps me prioritize which ones to answer. And also we have enabled a feature that you can ask questions anonymously. So again, not that any question is silly, but if you're nervous about asking questions, feel free to do it anonymously. The other avenue for active participation today will be polls, because I'm learning from you too. So as I give you information about the event, I'm looking forward to hearing information from you about your interest in the event, your role, and your ability to travel this year. So with that said, we're going to get started with our first poll of today, getting to know you. I'm going to open it right now. You should see on your screen a couple of questions. So the first question that I'm interested in for getting to know you guys is, on a scale of 1 to 5, how's your day going so far? It's important for me as a presenter to understand who my audience is and where I'm meeting you. So please let me know how your day is going. Number 2, just curious, do you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert? I think you could probably guess what I am, but it's also good to know from the perspective of the audience. And then finally, I'd like to know if you've attended Excipient World, formerly Excipient Fest, before. As many of you guys probably know, Excipient Fest was the original event, and in 2018, IPEC Americas purchased Excipient Fest, and we rebranded it Excipient World. Our first event as Excipient World happened in 2019 at the Gaylord National, which coincidentally is where we are going to be again this year. And unfortunately, our 2020 event was canceled. So this 2021 event will actually be the second event as Excipient World. I'll give another second or so for people to put things into the poll. Okay, and I'm going to share your results. So we can see, okay, for a lot of you, it's a little bit too early to tell how your day is going to go, but people are leaning towards shaping up to be pretty good. Thank you to whoever is having the best day ever. I'm going to try to channel your energy during the webinar today. Okay, and so we've got a bunch of introverts in the group, a few extroverts, and depends on the day, time, and situation. You know what? I feel you. That's kind of how I am too, but right now I'm feeling a little extroverted. And looking also at attendance history, I'm happy to see that many people have attended the event in the past, but we have a solid group of people who would be first timers in 2021. So please feel free to put them in the Q&A. I'm going to monitor them throughout and ask and answer as they come up as best I can. So I'm going to close this now, and move us into an introduction. So as you know, I mentioned this is Excipient World Conference and Expo. Our event this year is, or our event typically is in the springtime. This year we moved it out to September for, because we're hoping people can travel by then. On September 27th, though, is the first day of the event, and that day is dedicated exclusively to workshops. The workshops are half-day deep dives into excipient-related topics. They are also limited to smaller groups because they are very interactive, lots of discussion in that format. Tuesday, September 28th, is the beginning of the conference and expo part of our event. The conference, I will get into the programming there in a couple of minutes, and then obviously the expo part with our exhibits begins on the 28th as well. And as I previously mentioned, we'll be at the Gaylord National Resort and Convention Center, which is just outside of Washington, D.C. on the Potomac River. Obviously, if you don't know, now you know, our website is excipientworld.org. We have lots of information there about the event. Feel free to pop over to the website after the webinar, not during the webinar, to get more information. So for our webinar today, I just wanted to go over, we have two learning objectives. If I do my job well, our participants will all be able to identify the top reasons to attend Excipient World Conference and Expo 2021, and also navigate the event website to register and book housing. So we're going to jump right into a countdown of the top reasons to attend, the top 3 reasons, and we are going to begin with reason number 3. So reason number 3 for attending Excipient World Conference and Expo is networking. We absolutely encourage all of our people to come ready to interact with formulators, R&D, regulatory and compliance, quality assurance and control, supply chain, and other manufacturing professionals from both the excipient maker and excipient user sides of the industry. So for you introverts out there, you're gonna have to pump yourself up a little bit to, you know, expand your network. On the screen right now, you'll see a sampling of the participants who are already committed to being with us in September. This sample includes our speakers, several of our speakers, all of our exhibitors, and also several of the registered attendees for the event. I'm not going to read them all, but I'd like to point out they're kind of grouped. You have a section here on the top left of column here of related organizations, including FDA, USP, who will be at the event. We also have, I'd like to make a shout out to our media partners who help support the event and provide content. That's the second group. And then the final part, starting with Amgen, all the way down the second column are, oops, sorry, folks, are industry organizations that will be participating again as exhibitors, speakers, and attendees. If you don't see your company's name on the list, think about it. Okay, going back though to networking events. So a couple of things to point out is that we have over 5 hours of networking breaks and exclusive exhibit floor time built into our schedule. So we've this year expanded the time in between our sessions so that people have ample time to peruse the exhibit floor, to meet in our lounge area, to you know, reconnect with colleagues and expand their network. In addition to those breaks on the exhibit floor, we also have over 10 hours of meals and evening networking events planned. Each day we'll have a light continental breakfast. We will be serving a full lunch, and each evening, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we will be having networking receptions. Monday night is going to be our welcome reception. So anybody who comes in ahead of the conference and expo on Monday, so that's participants in the workshops, that's exhibitors who are moving in, and you know, and attendees who come in advance on Monday are invited to come to our welcome reception. kind of our super exciting event is Tuesday evening. That is when we will be celebrating IPEC America's 30th anniversary at the Gaylord National. We are hiring a band and looking forward to a really fun evening. This event is included in your registration as well. So that'll be on the second night of Excipient World. And then on the third night, we have a networking kind of a thank you happy hour that everyone is invited to as well before they head off back home. So I'm going to pause for a second here. I have another poll that I'd like to launch now. Getting to know you. Oops, that's not the right poll. Hold on, folks. Getting to know you part 2 poll. So this one gives me a little bit more information about your company and also about your role at your company. The first question is asking, what best describes your company or organization? So curious about whether or not you are coming from an academic institution, from the supplier side of the industry, or from the user side of the industry, nonprofit, etc. The second question in this poll is asking about your primary role or job function. So just curious about, your day-to-day, what are you most specifically focused on in terms of work? And the last one's for me. It's just curious, are you a night owl or an early bird? Need to know whether or not people are going to be showing up for those 8 a.m. Sessions at Excipient World. So I'll give you another couple of seconds to fill those out. Thank you so much to the people that have participated. I see 21 out of 29 people have voted. You other 8 people, get in here. Okay, I'm gonna end this poll, share results. Okay, so we can see, a lot of our attendees today in this webinar are excipient manufacturers, which is wonderful. We're going to be talking about the exhibit floor in a second. So if you're not exhibiting yet, you should be thinking about that. I'm looking here at the primary roles and job functions. A lot of people in regulatory. We've got some R&D, marketing, sales. That's great. Ooh, and a lot of night owls in the house. Okay, good to know. So I should be seeing all you guys at the IPEC America's 30th anniversary celebration. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing that poll and jump right into reason number 2 for why you should be at Excipient World. And that reason, everybody, is innovation. We really work hard to make sure that we have suppliers from the industry on our exhibit floor showing their latest innovations from R&D, new products, new services. And we really emphasize the fact that our exhibit hall is not positioned as a sales marketplace, but more as an information exchange space. So with that said, I want to show a sampling. This actually has increased by 3 since I pulled this data. But we do have 27 exhibitors lined up this year. You can see here, when you look at the logos, that it's a nice cross-section of the industry that we're really excited to have telling us about their latest innovations. And as I mentioned, in the spirit of information exchange, we also tell our exhibiting companies that we encourage them to staff their booth with their technical colleagues who are available to actually really get into the nitty-gritty of products and services, as opposed to those sales pitches. Just a quick look really quickly at our exhibit floor plan. You can see right here, one thing I'd like to point out as far as the exhibit floor plan is that we've reconfigured our space this year. So the entrance is here towards the middle where you'll be walking by our poster displays, which I will talk about in a couple of minutes. But then you can see here that our red booths are all sold. We have a couple of blue booths available, one on hold. So if you're interested, please visit our website for more information. The other thing here is our theater and lounge is a new feature. So we do have some programming that will be taking place on the exhibit floor as well, not just in the breakout rooms or general session rooms. So I am going to pause for a second because I'd like to share some exhibitor success stories. Not like in a salesy way, but more in a, we've had people give us a couple of their thoughts in terms of what their experience has been. And, instead of hearing it from me, I think it makes sense for you to be able to hear it from these people. So here we go.
Excipient World is the only US event focused on the business, science, quality, and safe use for excipients. Exhibitors have ample time to dedicate exhibit hall hours to meet with attendees at their booth and many networking opportunities to meet with customers and new prospects.
The biggest takeaway for us is the intimacy of the connections with the customers and the suppliers. I think we're all craving that, and I ask myself, why are we getting these intimate connections? And I think it has to do with the workshops, the fact that the attendees are coming here gaining value out of the regulatory and the industry workshops. That to me draws a lot of the people here that we want to make contact with. So the connections they're strong and they're intimate, and for that I think it's a great show.
Excipient World delivers quality buyers and influencers that are there to learn about and source excipient and services. Exhibitors can engage with the leading pharmaceutical, biologic, veterinary medicine, and consumer healthcare products manufacturers including Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, Merck, Biogen, Amgen, Bausch, P&G, Perico, Clorox, Eli Lilly, Henkel, and many more, and meet one-on-one with buyers in private meeting rooms.
Well, we see that the folks that are at the show are either key decision makers or key influencers. And I really appreciate the show because I've had the time to actually have a nice, thorough conversation with each of the guests. People are taking their time. It's a very small boutique venue, which provides for more of an intimate conversation and relationship building.
Secure your booth space today and receive.
Okay, I'm going to pause this right there. Again, I think there's a lot of value with hearing it from the exhibitors themselves as opposed to just me, what a good experience it is on the exhibit floor in terms of being able to interact with colleagues. I am going to swap right back to my PowerPoint now and move us into our third poll of today. You guys didn't know that you were going to be doing so much work, did you? So this poll, I'm going to launch right now. This is our travel poll. So thinking about coming to the event, I'm curious to hear from you. First of all, a little bit about whether or not your organization currently has business related travel restrictions in place. That's obviously an important consideration for us as we're planning. Number two, we're curious about when you anticipate your organization will begin supporting your business related travel. So not so much lifting general restrictions, but when do you anticipate that they will be approving travel and expenses related to coming to conferences and trade shows? And then the third one, obviously, is for me again. I'm curious, when you travel for fun, are you more of a beach person or a mountain person? So I see we're about halfway there with people voting. As we're waiting for a couple more votes to come in, I do want to remind you that the Q&A is open and available for people to type questions in as well. If there's something that I haven't hit or something I spoke about that I didn't do very thoroughly, feel free to ask away. Okay, I'm going to end this poll. I'm going to share our results. Okay, so it looks like we're at about a 50-50 right now as far as having travel restrictions in place. It's good to know. And then looking right here in terms of when your travel, your personal travel for work will be, approved. And it looks like majority of people are thinking that it either has been started again, or by September they will be able to travel for work, which is great because end of September is our event. So hopefully that'll work. And then finally, okay, I'm a beach person too. So shout out to my beach people out there. Nothing against the mountain people, but I'm definitely a beach girl. Okay, I do see one question in the Q&A that I'll hit really quickly, and they're asking about what is the space size of the exhibits, and what is the cost? So the answer to that is that they are 8 feet by 10 feet exhibits this year. We've reduced them from 8 by 10 in the past to accommodate larger aisles for social distancing, and the cost is $4,200 for the space. That does include 3 full conference and expo badges for your booth staff. So again, we really encourage that the people who are being sent to staff the booth are people who come with the technical scientific background, not necessarily exclusively marketing or sales folks from your company. And we do that because we want them to be able to participate in our conference sessions as well. So thank you for that question. Then I see another one really quickly that came in that I'll address really quickly is the IPEC conference running in parallel to Excipient World as in the past? Where will the IPEC people be relative to the exhibit floor? We participate in both IPEC and Excipient World. So that's an excellent question too. So to clarify, as I mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, IPEC Americas has purchased Excipient Fest, the previous event, and rebranded it as Excipient World. So IPEC and Excipient World are now married, one and the same. So IPEC Americas will absolutely be at the event. They are exhibiting. They will have a booth at the event, but has our IPEC Americas members and active volunteers have been actively participating in our conference committee, helping with all of the planning, including all of the programming that's involved. So hopefully that answers that question. And do you have plans for a virtual expo option? That's a good question. Thank you for that, Jasmine. We are not going to have a virtual expo this year. We did reach out to previous exhibitors to get a sense of interest there, and it sounded like the market was a little bit saturated as far as virtual is concerned, so we opted out for this year. However, we will be offering a virtual component for the education, and I will get into that a little bit further in just a moment. So thanks again, Jasmine, for that. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to move into the final, our top reason, as far as I'm concerned, for the reason to attend Excipient World. I've mentioned it once or twice before, and I'm going to say it again. It's the education. We have a wonderful program composed of in-depth workshops, as I mentioned on the first day, on Monday of the event, and then Tuesday and Wednesday moving into our educational sessions and general sessions that are going to be presented by industry experts and FDA. I love this graphic. I'm a numbers girl. I love the idea of just thinking about the fact that we have over 30 presenters that are coming from pharma, biotech, academic, regulatory organizations, and they're going to be presenting over 25 sessions featuring, 3D printing, microplastics, continuous manufacturing. Something that I really want to point out here is with our education sessions that every single session is reviewed and vetted by our conference committee of subject matter experts. Really, it's the IPEC America's active members who are contributing to this and reviewing these sessions to make sure that they are high quality, purely educational, and non-commercial in nature. But all of that packed into 3 exciting days. And here's the thing, we mentioned virtual just a second ago, and although we are not planning to have the virtual exhibit hall this year, we are planning on recording every single one of our educational sessions. And these recordings will be available to every registered attendee for Excipient World. So when you come to Excipient World, it's sometimes difficult for any event to pick when you have 2 sessions that are running concurrently with each other, which one you're going to go to. Now you won't have to worry about that. You'll be able to participate live in sessions at the event and after the fact receive the recordings to be able to view the content that you were not able to participate in live. I'm pointing out right here a sampling of speakers. We have people from across the industry representing, again, both the user side of the industry, the excipient users, as well as the supplier side of the industry. And in addition, we have many of our related organizations, Excipact, FDA, RX360, Generic Animal Drug Association coming to present as well. I'm going to take a moment to pause here and go back to a couple of the questions here. So I see, Richard, thank you. You asked when the conference schedule will be available. You're saying you're looking at the website and you don't see the conferences listed. Thank you for saying that. I will pause my screen for a second and I will show everybody right now exactly where that is. So when you are on our website, I was actually going to point this out later, but I'm going to jump into it right now. We have it in many different places, but if you click on registration, you'll see that it brings you to this page, and right at the top there are these 2 blue buttons, and these are, I think, obviously have the most important information in them. So the schedule is right here. If you click on that button, it takes you to this resource, which is an interactive schedule. It maps out all of our sessions. You can click on sessions, get the description, see who the presenters are. It's totally interactive. You can also search or filter when you're looking at our schedule. You can look by different formats if you're looking for educational sessions, if you're looking for a specific presentation level, a more advanced level of education versus fundamental or intermediate. I asked you earlier what your role is at your organization. You can filter our program by what your role is to see what's specifically been curated for you. If this format doesn't work for you, we also have here at the top of this conference sessions page, a link that says conference brochure and schedule at a glance. If you click on the schedule at a glance, you'll see our most recent PDF that kind of maps out the whole conference again, where you'll be able to see side by side how things are laid out and what our preliminary plan is. So thank you very much for that question, Richard. I'm going to hop back into my schedule, my session here. I do see a couple other questions about the about booths. I'm happy to have people contact Patty for more information, because and I see that there was a note that was put into our Q&A for that. So booth size, it's 8 by 10 for 4,200. It has a little bit more description in there, and Patty Wainzer is our salesperson. So Patty at excipientworld.org, she's your girl and will be able to answer any other questions that you have about exhibiting. And I also see a question, what if we wanted to have a workshop? At this point, our conference program is full for the 2021 event, so we do not have space for any additional programming. However, amazingly, since we pushed our conference out to September this year, our 2022 event will be coming up about 7 months after the fact. So we'll be doing our call for papers for the 2022 event shortly, and we would be happy to accept abstracts for spring of 2022. Okay, so I'm going to move us along now. Oh, so this is an exciting slide. Going back to the conference programming, the other thing I really want to point out is that we have a very special presenter this year, Catherine Eban, who is an investigative journalist, but also the author of this best-selling book, Bottle of Lies, The Inside Story of the Generic Drug Boom. Catherine will be at the event on September 28th. She will be presenting a keynote presentation from 3:30 to 4:30, and also doing a book signing in our exhibit hall theater from 4:30 to 5:30 directly after the event. Also, that leads right into the IPEC America's 30th anniversary. So it's going to be a pretty awesome afternoon on the September 28th. Just so you know, we are selling discounted copies of Catherine's book that you can purchase during registration for $12. They will be available for pickup on site, so you won't have to worry about bringing your book, and then you will have it in place to go meet Catherine and have it signed at the event. All right. I mentioned posters a couple of minutes ago, and so posters will highlight research and new discoveries. Obviously, we've had posters in the past. We have ample space for up to 24 posters this year. And as I said, they've been moved right to the entrance of the exhibit hall that everybody will be passing by to see research. In addition, we will have a rapid fire academic poster presentation session this year. So if anybody is from an academic institution or knows people at an academic institution who would be interested, please tell them to come to our website to submit an abstract. Abstracts for posters are due on August 6th, and we will be informing people of their acceptance by August 27th. So I'll pause for a second here. I do see another question about the purpose of the booth. Thank you, Jeff. It says when you, I said that they're specifically not salesy. Okay, so the booth is obviously, a space for you to have visibility with our audience. But we do see that the most successful booths are the ones that have people who are there to really dig into the science behind products and services, as opposed to take orders for products and services. So obviously, as an exhibitor, when you're making that investment to be at an event, you do have to think about the fact that you are gaining visibility, you are supporting an industry event, but also we really do encourage people to be there and ready to just converse about products and services, as opposed to specifically coming with the goal of order writing. I hope that answers your question. And I did have one other question about cannabis as active therapeutics. Are you aware of any focus on that? No, not this year. We do not have anything in our program yet this year about cannabis. Okay, so we're going to do a quick recap of the top 3 reasons to attend Excipient World. Just a reminder, the first one was that, obviously you can expand your network. We have a wonderful lineup of exhibitors, attendees, and speakers. A wonderful representation of the industry will be there, and plenty of dedicated time for networking. Increasing your access to the latest innovations, so thinking about new products and services and R&D, really, between what's being talked about in our sessions to what's being shown on our exhibit floor and demonstrated in the posters. We're really focused on what's happening, what's coming up in our industry. And then that ties in nicely to furthering your education, really coming and being prepared to soak in a lot of new information, knowing that every single one of our sessions has been vetted for content to make sure that it's high quality, purely education, scientific content, non-commercial in nature. So I'm going to take a pause right there now and share. Obviously, it's nice to hear it from me, but obviously I work for the event. I want to share some attendee testimonials now so you can hear it straight from some of our previous attendees.
Excipient World is the only U.S. event focused on the business, science, quality, and safe use for excipients. Attendings come from pharmaceutical, biologic, veterinary medicine, and consumer healthcare products manufacturers to learn about excipient and the latest trends and technology advancements as they relate to formulation, supply chain, regulation, and compliance.
Conference program includes all of the latest activities that are going on in the excipient space for the pharmaceutical industry. And so for me, I'm able to get all of the latest information on hot topics in the industry, and I can take that back to my regular job and back to the company that I work for.
Attendings can learn about the latest excipient solutions, discuss supply chain needs, and source new services and products in the exhibit hall from leading excipient manufacturers, distributors, and service providers.
I think the conference program this year has been fantastic. There has been really a great mix of quality topics and regulatory topics, as well as some really interesting technical talks that talk about things like continuous manufacturing, where industry is headed to. There's been an awful lot here that I know I'm going to be taking back to not just my quality folks, but to our R&D department to share and to build some of those relationships with a lot of the suppliers that we see exhibited here.
Mark your calendar to attend Excipient World.
Okay. All right. I'm going to switch back one more time to my presentation. So I hope that that was helpful to see those couple of testimonials. Again, that was our 2019 event, the last event that was at the Gaylord National. We did not have our 2020 event, so that's the kind of the reference point that we have, but really excited to see that same kind of energy again in 2021. So our learning objectives, going back to the beginning, we talked about the fact that we wanted to identify the top reasons to attend Excipient World. I'm going to check that one off the list because
Courtney,
I hope you were listening and you got it.
excuse me, Courtney.
Yes.
You're still sharing that video.
Oh.
There we go.
Thank
Thanks.
you. All right, so check that off the list. And then the next thing on our agenda was to navigate the event website and to understand how to register and book housing. So I kind of gave you a sneak peek of that when we had the question before about the conference program, but our event website is excipientworld.org. I am going to pop over to Excipient. Whoops. Yikes. Hold on. Gonna pop us over to excipientworld.org right now. You can see that right at our homepage at the top, we tried to make registration super duper easy to find. I will show you though too, if you have specific questions about the conference and expo, you can hover over conference and expo. There are things about attending, a couple of topics about exhibiting that give you a lot of information. For presenting, although we're not accepting abstracts for presentations, we are accepting poster abstracts still, so that is here as well. We have a couple of COVID-19 updates, which we will talk about in a moment, and information about our hotel and travel. But for registration, which is the point of this part, is on our homepage, you will click registration right here. As I previously mentioned, you can peruse the schedule and the speakers from this point. We have a fact sheet of frequently asked questions that you can download. We have also a downloadable sheet about pricing if you're curious. We have information about different discounts that we have, including the IPEC Americas member discount, and then the detail about our pricing as well. I want to point out that our early bird pricing is available for about 2 more weeks until July 30th. So if you're interested, now's the time to do it. And then when you're ready to go to register and book, you will click here to start the registration process. There is a note underneath here that I want to point out because people do ask about this, is that we do have a room block at the Gaylord National. However, you will not receive a link to book your hotel room until you have completed your registration. So step 1 is registering for the event, and then you'll get your email confirmation from directly from our system. And in the confirmation, it will have information about booking your room. I think I have a question. There's a question here in the Q&A that's asking if you have to be a member of IPEC to exhibit, and the answer is absolutely not. We are open to anybody from the industry who is interested in exhibiting. So no, you do not have to be an IPEC Americas member to exhibit. All right, I'm going to move us back to the slides. One more time. Okay, so we looked at the website. As I said, registration right there on top, easy to find, hopefully. But if you have questions, this is my direct number right here in the upper right-hand corner on the homepage. Feel free to give me a call, and I'm happy to help you out with registering. And that brings us to our next poll. So participation. This poll is going to kind of help me in 2 ways. Number 1, I'm curious about, like, with live events right now, which of the following practices would you like to see in place for any in-person event in 2021? This is a multiple choice question in the sense that you can select up to 5 of these options. Please don't select them all because I can't do everything, but I would love to know whether or not, you know, temperature checks, what you're thinking about masks, disposable gloves, hand sanitizer, physical distancing, you know, food and beverage, what your preferences are. And then finally, I'm gonna put you on the spot here and just would love to get a sense of how likely you are to attend Excipient World 2021. Would love to know, after you've learned more about it and gotten a better sense, where you stand as far as attending. I'm gonna take a quick peek while the poll is open at the Q&A one more time. So anybody who has any other questions that I've missed, please feel free to jump into the Q&A and put them in there. I am an open book as far as Excipient World is concerned. If you think of something also after we're done today, you can feel free to send me an email. My email address is courtney@excipientworld.org. I'm going to end our poll. I'm going to share our results really quickly. Okay, great news. Hand sanitizer stations. I actually have one of our partners from the Gaylord is on the call today, Ingrid. Shout out to Ingrid. And we were emailing before the start of this webinar, and she did confirm that hand sanitizers are going to be all over the place at the Gaylord, so have no fear, those are there. And absolutely, physical distancing is something that we will continue to support, and food and beverage provided in a no contact way. So she did confirm that that is still the case at the Gaylord, that they still are taking extra special precautions and have things in place for contactless serving, and she does not foresee that disappearing. We can't promise, but she doesn't see that going away anytime soon. And I do really love that I'm seeing most people who responded to the poll say that they're either likely or very likely to attend Excipient World. That makes me happy. If you said unlikely or very unlikely, feel free to send me an email. Let me know if you have outstanding questions that you'd like to have answered, if there's anything that we can do to help make your decision easier. Okay, there is a question about the booths again in the Q&A, asking if there was a booth discount for IPEC Americas members. The answer is there is not a discount on booths. The IPEC Americas member discount is on registration. Okay, I think that was the only outstanding question in the Q&A. Again, I am open for emails after the fact. Feel free, Courtney@excipientworld.org, or again, my direct line is at the top of our website. Feel free to give me a call if you have additional questions. And with that, I want to say thank you for your time and attention today. We hope to see you in September at the Gaylord National for Excipient World 2021, and also to celebrate IPEC America's 30th anniversary. We're really looking forward to marking that big milestone. With that, I am going to conclude today's webinar. I hope to hear from you or see you soon. Thank you again for your participation.